to Vlogtober episode 3. So I have been listening to an audiobook. I'm about 2 hours in, and the audiobook is Christine by Stephen King. In my last video, I asked for some Stephen King recommendations, and this was a recommendation from my dad. And I don't know if I would have ever picked up Christine on my own, just because it is about a haunted car, and I don't know. I didn't think that that would be something that would interest me, but I am really loving the audiobook, and the narrator is so fantastic. And I think something that Stephen King does really well is he writes his characters in a way that they feel like such real, solid people. Like, you feel like you know so many details about their lives, and you just really care about them so quickly. I have not been bored at all the first 2 hours of this audiobook. Like, I am so, like, I'm sitting there listening and I'm like, what's next? What's next? So I'm gonna go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a physical copy. So I picked up Christine, of course. I also picked up a copy of Fairy Tale. I don't really know what the vibe of this one is. I think it's a fantasy, maybe? I know not all of his books are horror books, but I feel like most of them are, but I don't know. I'm just now getting into the world of Stephen King, but I know that this is about a 17-year-old boy who inherits the keys to a portal that opens up to another world. So it sounds very imaginative, and I don't know if I'm going to read this one this week. We'll see how much reading I actually get done this week, but for now I am reading Christine, and I'm currently, I think, like 14 chapters in. I did some reading at Barnes & Noble, and I was listening to the audiobook while physically reading, and it was just such an immersive experience. And you know that feeling where you just get so lost in the book that you physically feel like you are in the story. You feel like you're like in the character's head, living out the characters' lives. And I live for that feeling. This follows 2 high school seniors. It follows Arnie Cunningham and Dennis Gilder. They are best friends. Arnie is like the nerd in high school, and then Dennis is like the popular guy. He's a football player. And so they have a very unlikely friendship, but they grew up together, so they've just been best friends their whole lives. And in the beginning, they come across the car, Christine, and Arnie is immediately drawn to the car, and he's like, I have to have this car. So throughout the story, you start to see him develop this like very unhealthy obsession with the car. So I'm very interested to see where this story is gonna go. I forgot to mention that this also takes place in the 70s, so I really like that aspect of the story. And this also feels like a young adult novel because the main characters are in high school. I am enjoying this way more than I ever thought I would, so thank you, Dad, for recommending this book. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading, and I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. Oh, I forgot. I also picked up a copy of Sabrina Carpenter's new album. This is girlhood right here. So I am now about 40% into the book, and my question is, did Christine choose Arnie, or did Arnie choose Christine? I don't know. But either way, they are soulmates, but not in a healthy way. So throughout the story, I think the narrator for the audiobook does a really great job of especially Arnie's voice, because throughout the story, Arnie starts to change because of this car, and his voice gradually changes as well. and I think the narration is just so perfect. So if you're gonna read this, I do recommend the audiobook. And I did cast Dylan O'Brien as Dennis. I know he's like too old to play a high schooler, but I picture him as like the age that he was when he was in Teen Wolf. I also think that this does a great job of capturing that feeling of being a high school senior and knowing that your life is about to change. And there is a quote from Dennis, and you see him start to like realize that high school is almost over, and he says, "People came in and went out, a lot of them kids from school. Before long, I'd be seeing them in the halls again, and I felt a recurrence of that fierce nostalgia in advance and that sense of fright. In my head, I could hear the homeroom bell going off, but somehow its long bray sounded like an alarm. Here we go again, Dennis. Last time. After this year, you got to learn how to be a grown-up." I could hear locker doors crashing closed, the sound of the typewriters from the big secretarial classrooms on the second floor. Mr. Meekum, the principal, giving the announcements at the end of the day in his dry, fussy voice. Lunch outdoors on the bleachers in good weather, a new crop of freshmen looking dorky and lost. And at the end of it all, you march down the aisle in this big purple bathrobe. And that's it. High school's over. You are released on an unsuspecting world.
I met an old man. I said, tell me your story. He took out a notepad and wrote something for me. He kept walking on down the road, and I watched him disappear like smoke. And I thought I'd just seen a ghost. Then I looked down at what he wrote.
So I know this is a very cutesy journal spread, but I promise this is actually a scary book. I just couldn't help but add cute little stickers and little doodles. But we have Dylan O'Brien, and then I fan casted Sabrina Carpenter as Lee. So Lee is the main female character in the story. So we've got Libertyville High, which is their high school. And I have a quote from Dennis that I thought summed up the story really well. And it says, "I thought maybe the car is cursed. Maybe that's what it is. It sounds like a ghost story, all right. But that was ridiculous, wasn't it?" So, love that. And then I am almost to part 3. So part 1 is Dennis's point of view. Part 2 is kind of Arnie's point of view, but it's more like an outside perspective. So you get to see Arnie and his parents and Lee. You don't really see a whole lot of Dennis. I'm really missing Dennis. But I am like 1 chapter away from part 3. And I think part 3 is Christine's point of view, and I really don't know how that's gonna play out, so. But I'm really nervous for these characters because it's getting intense. I have 100 pages left, and when I tell you I am so genuinely frightened for these characters. There is a specific scene where Dennis is in the car with Arnie and everything is coming to the surface, and I was so scared I had tears in my eyes. Like, I cannot bear to see something bad happen to these characters. Well, bad things are already happening, but I cannot bear to see things get worse. And I don't know how things are going to be resolved in the last 100 pages, and I am like just I have no words. I am so scared. Also, the fact that these characters are so young, they are 17 years old, they're in high school, and they've gone through so much, and I need them to have a happy ending. And I know that this kind of book is not one where happy endings typically happen, so I don't know if I can do this. Okay, I'm gonna go to the park and do some reading, and hopefully things will be okay. Am I delusional for thinking things will be okay? So have like this much left of the book. And I thought we would just finish the book together. So we're gonna read it together. Things are really stressful, and I don't know, I think that this book really tugs on your heartstrings because of like the friendship between Dennis and Arnie and just how much things have changed, and oh man. Well, I have officially finished Christine, and I have been emotionally destroyed by Stephen King. I definitely teared up at the end, and I think I would give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is way higher than I ever expected, and I genuinely enjoyed the story from start to finish. If you've never read Stephen King, I would say this is kind of a bit tamer than The Shining or Pet Sematary, so if you want to get into his books, I would say this would be a good one to start with. And when I say tame, it's not that tame, but you know what I mean. I didn't think it was as terrifying as Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary was something else, and I still think about that book to this day. But I can't tell you what happens at the end, but I can read you the beginning. Near the end of that summer vacation, Arnie saw Christine for the first time and fell in love with her. I was with him that day. We were on our way home from work, and brother, he fell, and he fell hard. It could have been funny if it hadn't been so sad, and if it hadn't gotten scary as quick as it did. It could have been funny if it hadn't been so bad. How bad was it? It was bad from the start, and it got worse in a hurry. So I will leave you with that. I was going to read Fairy Tale this week, but I genuinely need a break after this. So this is going to be a shorter vlog compared to my other Vlogtober videos, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had fun reading a spooky book with me, and I will see you guys again soon for Vlogtober episode 4. Bye guys.